Hi everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, with my kind of new series that I'll be doing semi-regularly called For Your Consideration. Inspired by those kind of coffee table books, 1,000 comics you must read. This is kind of me showcasing some of my favourite comics that I have in my collection that I go back to reread and have had some sort of emotional, physical effect on me through the years. Now, these will be kind of single issues, but they could come in any format, whether it's like your single issue floppies, whether it's an issue within a trade, whether it's a reprint, but they will be stories that I've really loved while I had many years of reading comic books. Just a little bit of background about the first issue that I'm gonna be showcasing in this video. It's from an independent title back in 2004, I think. It could be even earlier. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, 2004. And it's from a company called AIT Planet La. It was a 12-issue maxi series written by and drawn by two people whose names are now hugely recognisable, working for both Marvel and DC along their careers, but back then they were pretty much unknown, just starting out in their careers, but no less effective in their art. It is, of course, Demo by Brian Wood and Becky Cloonan. The whole series as a whole kind of centred on young adults who were, at least this is how the series started, dealing with, some would have said, mutant or kind of supernatural powers. Now these were just ordinary kids. They weren't like superheroes. They didn't have costumes or anything like this. These were just kids getting on with their everyday lives, but had this kind of extra power they could do. But as the title evolved, it became more a tale of relationships, however or whatever scenario that entailed. Each issue was a self-contained story, so there was no kind of storyline that you could just jump in anywhere. There was no storyline to try and figure out what had gone before, so that helped. And here we have my favourite issue from the series, and obviously one of my favourite comics of all time, and it's issue 8, Mixtape. Oh, mixtapes. Anyone who's either been in love, had their heart broken, wanted to get a party started, they will have made a mixtape. Whether that little rectangle of plastic was filled with the most loving love songs for your significant other, whether it was your boyfriend or girlfriend, and given to them as a gift to show your undying love, whether it was soaked in sadness and pain and angst from having just broken up with somebody, or whether it, like I said, it's just a party tape. Let's get this party started. Lots of upbeat tunes. Well, Brian Wood and Becky Cloonan take this premise of the mixtape and they kind of amp it up to a literally haunting level. Now, I'm going to try not to spoil the story too much for you, because clearly I'd like you to go out and read this, given it's one of my favourite comic books and comes thoroughly recommended. But the story centres on the guy called Nick, and it's a day in his life where he wakes up and he finds out his girlfriend has committed suicide. We can see her on the cover here. And she has this tape, and all it says on the front of it is, "For you." And what Brian Wood and Becky Cloonan do is we go on a journey with Nick and his dead girlfriend. This tape isn't full of tunes that remind them of you know, times gone by. This is basically a conversation between the two, kind of wrapping things up. His girlfriend, while she certainly has a message that she wants to give Nick, it's also to show that, you know, this suicide of hers was her own choice, despite everything that had gone on between them. That he's not there to really blame himself, because the clever thing that Brian Wood did in crafting this story is, at the beginning you feel you have this scenario of what appears to be a very kind of loving couple. There is an intimacy between the two of them, and it's kind of cute in a way, but as the story progresses, Brian Wood scrapes off that kind of very superficial surface. The cuteness, the rose-tinted glasses get taken down, and we see a couple that really are just going through the motions, and aren't as happy on paper as you would expect. We find the girlfriend hated all the places that he would take her to, and he really had no idea about his girlfriend, what she liked, who she liked, where she liked going. And the conversation they have in the tape is her trying to say, look, I'm giving you a chance to be better for the next time. So let go of me, learn from what, you know, this conversation we've just had, and move on. It is a heartbreaking story. Every time I reread this, a lump in my throat. It's very raw, it's very emotional, just a great book all round. The artistry by Becky Cloonan, it's black and white, again, very raw, very real. And Becky Cloonan herself says, you know, she's very influenced by the kind of the manga style of comic book creating, and it's certainly seen and evidenced in certainly in this issue. In the back of every issue of Demo, they they did a column each where they talked about the process of making the comic and why they made it and what were their influences. And even though it was very apt for this issue, but they do it for everyone throughout the 12-issue maxi series, there is a track listing of everything they were listening to. So Brian Wood does one and Becky Cloonan does one, and you can hear what they were listening to as they were making this particular comic book. Now I have done a playlist for Brian Wood's track listing. His was the list I could find actually most of the songs on. And Becky Cloonan's, the songs I could find, well, if you get a copy of this and you want to look down and see what she was listening to, help yourself. Again, just a great issue, just hauntingly emotional, very raw and very real. I go back and reread this so many times. So there we have it, our first for your consideration video. I hope you enjoyed that and are looking forward to many more. Bye everybody.